Coming up next on Columbus Connections, we are talking to our city manager, Isaiah Hughley, about the City Managers Millennial Roundtable. Stay tuned. Welcome to Columbus Connections. I am your host, David Britt, and if you are a citizen of Muskogee County, Columbus, Georgia, there are a lot of young, dynamic leaders working for the city to help make this city better. I'm here with our city manager, Isaiah Hughley, who had the great idea to form an organization to help bring out and highlight those young leaders. None other than Mr. Isaiah Hughley. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. It's exciting to be here with you today.
It's exciting to be here. I feel underdressed. I should have known that you were going to come with it because you always do.
Well, you're dressed just fine. Every other time I see you, you're well dressed. So
Thank you. Thank you.
You're fine.
Thank you. So before we want to talk about the City Managers Millennial Roundtable, but first we want to talk a little bit about you. How long have you been city manager?
I've been city manager since February 2005, so around 16 and a half years.
Wow, that's awesome. And you just received an award. Tell me about the award you received.
I was just received the honor of being inducted into the Georgia Municipal Association Hall of Fame. And there's 537 cities in the state of Georgia, and each year they will induct 2 or 3 persons who have made significant contributions to the city and the state of Georgia. And this year I was one of 3 inductees for 2021, and it's certainly an honor.
Wow, well, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Very well deserved.
Thank you.
Very well deserved. Being the city manager for that long, you see so many things and you come in contact with so many people. What's it like just your regular, just everyday life? What is it like for Isaiah Hughley being the city manager?
Well, being city manager obviously is a challenge because the size of our city, when you consider that we are a city of 206,922 citizens.
Mm-hmm. Second largest in Georgia?
Second largest city in Georgia based on the 2020 census. When you consider that we have a budget of $296 million, when you consider that we have more than 3,000 employees, when you consider just the diversity of all of the different programs and services we provide, there's always something that's going on somewhere in the city government each and every day, each and every hour that the city manager is involved in. And so each day you just don't know what's next. Mm-hmm. And so you're herding cats, you're dealing with putting out fires, you're dealing with citizens who may not be happy, you're dealing with just so many different issues. Yeah. But it's a challenging job.
Gotcha. And within that challenge, you saw a need for emerging leaders in the city government who handle some of those challenges, and you created the City Managers Millennial Roundtable. Tell me about that.
Well, I kept watching these very, very bright young people in our city government operating behind the scenes. A department head walks in, a division manager, and they've got some computer program that they've been able to do something very, very sophisticated. And then when you get down to, where did this come from? Who created this idea? Who made this happen? It was always some young millennial behind the scene, mm-hmm. didn't know their name, they never got attention, they just worked behind the scene. And then I realized, as I go into a department head meeting, we've got people in every generation with one perhaps in the millennial generation sitting around the table. Mm-hmm. And knowing that we are a forward-thinking city, we've got to prepare our city for the growth, for the development, for the future. We've got to have great future leaders. These people are working behind the scenes, and I would talk to department heads in my department head meetings about just making sure they open the door to give these millennials the opportunity that they deserve. And I would always say to them, they may not look like what you think they ought to look like based on your generation. In other words, their hair might be longer, they may be tatted up, they may have piercing somewhere, and don't let that fool you. These are bright people, and they deserve opportunities. Look beyond what you think. They're not going to come in a shirt, suit, tie, and all of that like your generation did many years ago. And they're going to have challenges that are different from what your challenges are, because they are young people raising a family, they have children, they're going to have to leave to go and see about the child. They may have to come to work late, more regular on a more regular basis than someone who their kids are grown up, and so you got to have some tolerance for that kind of thing, because you've been there and you've done it before. You've had to go through that before yourself, and so I wanted them to open the door, and I challenged them: if you don't have a millennial working in your office and working very closely to you and engaged and involved in the day-to-day kinds of things that are important to your office, you're missing out on a whole lot. And so out of all of that, in order to make sure I bring them, the millennials, to the forefront, that they are recognized, they get to network with other millennials, they get to network with people who are seasoned, that we can grow them and prepare them for the future opportunities in this government, we are going to be in trouble. And so out of all of that thought process, that thinking, I said I want to create a millennial roundtable where I bring all of the millennials, or as many as we can, in this government, bring them together and let them get to know each other, let them network. I've got the governor, for example. I created a structure where millennials are in my department head meetings, the governor, the lieutenant governor, the speaker of the House, the House leader. I want them in department head meetings, that they can hear the discussion, interact with other department heads, and know what's going on, so that we can grow them and prepare them for a future in this government. And so that's how I came about the City Managers Millennial Roundtable.
And like you said, you even set it up through as a governmental organization with a House leader and a whip and those things.
Well, I wanted them to understand the political structure, and not necessarily the local structure, but because they see that every day. But I wanted to base it on a state structure. So created a system where we created a House and Senate. We created the governor, lieutenant governor, the House speaker, the Senate leader, the House leader, and those people are elected. And then created a structure where if they see something in the government that needs to be addressed, needs to be changed, new ideas, fresh ideas they want to bring to the table, they vet them through either the House side or the Senate side, and it gets up to the House floor, the Senate floor, and it passes just as legislation will pass in the state legislature in Atlanta. And then it goes, we've got an attorney general who will get with the city attorney. That means they get to work with the city attorney, assistant city attorney, and see if there are any legal issues around what they're trying to do. They get with the HR director to make sure if it's a personnel matter. They get with the deputy city managers who are over several departments to make sure they have the buy-in with them. But then the legislation passes, the governor signs it, and then we will go to council if it requires council action, and ask council, based on having gone through that process, ask council to either through a resolution or an ordinance adopt that legislation that came up through the City Managers Millennial Roundtable, and then they feel like they've got, they're engaged in the government, they have a say in the government, they can push their ideas forward, they can get them laws enacted through city council legislation or simple resolution, but they are having an impact on the city government. And I think that's going to help us with retaining them, that they will stay here and help make their city better rather than go off to some other city or county and take those expertise, those skills with them.
Yeah. In fact, the slogan itself is making an impact.
That's
and
right.
full disclosure, I am a proud member of the City Managers Millennial Roundtable. Now, I'm one of those grandpa millennials that's been with the city for a while, but still a millennial, still
Yes,
young.
absolutely.
But I can definitely say, having been here for a while,
Yes.
and having seen a time when that wasn't here and seeing a time where it is here,
Yes.
it's definitely a lot better as far as communicating with other young leaders, as far as giving young leaders an opportunity to work not just with the management that they work with directly, but to have a better overall understanding. I've learned so much just being able to reach out to those young people who are actually making it happen.
Absolutely, and you are a leader in the Senate, in the City Managers Millennial Roundtable. You're the Deputy Tax Commissioner, and we need to have you engaged. We need your creative ideas, your thoughts, and you've brought those to the table. And so my goal, our goal, is to make sure that we can keep you here in Columbus.
Yeah.
We don't want you going anywhere else. We don't want the governor, lieutenant governor, or any of the members of the City Managers Millennial Roundtable leaving us to go to the private sector or to some other job. You have too much to contribute to your city that can make your city better in the years to come. I'm going to be leaving, when my time is up, and there's so many other department heads who are aging and will be retiring or leaving. Someone has to be prepared. This is a professional development organization,
Exactly.
the City Managers Millennial Roundtable, and what we're doing with the city, with the millennials in the government, we're preparing you for that growth, to take that next step and be the leader in your department or in some other department or in the city.
Gotcha.
Perhaps run for elective office at some point. And so we've got to grow the talent, the talent that we have.
Exactly.
And we have talent in the millennials throughout the Columbus Consolidated Government. And I want to just pull all of those minds together that you can do great things for the city of Columbus.
Exactly, and the City Managers Millennial Roundtable is growing. There's going to be another intake process coming up pretty soon.
Absolutely. There will be an all-user email that will go out to alert department heads and millennials in the city government that there's an application process. And if interested, you need to apply. I certainly encourage millennials to apply. We have taken trips to Atlanta where our millennials have met with the governor, the lieutenant governor, House leaders, Senate leaders. They've gone to the House floor, the Senate floor. We've had lunch with legislators. We've heard from the leadership by taking the entire millennial roundtable to Atlanta. And so, and putting you in touch with legislators that you would not otherwise perhaps have an opportunity to meet and be able to communicate with and share your thoughts about legislation and where the city of Columbus is going and where the state of Georgia should be going. So we're engaging millennials here in our Columbus Consolidated Government. We want to grow the talent. We want succession planning, and because the talent is here. When it comes to hiring another department head, I want to be able to look to the Millennial Roundtable and say, there's your next department head, there's your next division manager. We don't need to go outside of Columbus, outside the CCG. We can grow our own talent, and that's the goal of the Millennial Roundtable.
Absolutely. So if you're a young leader in the community, the city government is a place for growth. It's not the government of old. It's a place for growth. It's a place for progression. It's a place where leaders care about making young leaders, which is a true mark of leadership. So please consider the Columbus Consolidated Government as a great place for millennials. And again, pay attention to some of the dynamic young people who are making things happen. Mr. Hughley, thank you so much for that idea and for putting that together, because it's one of a kind. There's something that we're planning on having other counties model after. Correct?
Absolutely. We want to take it to the state level and go see some activity in a similar way statewide, and then take it to the national level. Our city, I don't know of another millennial roundtable in the state of Georgia or across the nation that's structured and the way that we have structured this. And so it's something unique, it's something different, and it's something outside of Columbus they're paying attention to.
Awesome. Again, thank you so much for putting that together. And thank you for being a guest on the show. We got to have you back some more time. Anytime you want, come on to the show.
Be happy to, and thank you again for being a part of the Millennial Roundtable,
Absolutely.
for being our Deputy Tax Commissioner, for all that you have done within the CCG and all that you're doing with CCG TV.
Absolutely. And thank you for watching Columbus Connections. We'll see you next time.